Alrighty, this should be coming through live if you are tuning in later. I'm just going to bring up my other screens, and this is a last minute decision to jump on here, so I'm just going to let everyone know on Twitter that we're doing a bit of a live session. And the monthly candle is going to close in 7 minutes from now, 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So let's just share this on Twitter. Live for the monthly candle close. I'm going to share that in my group. And share that in our Facebook group for everyone to see as well. Beautiful. And for those of you that are members, I'll mention this again later on, but we are doing some regular live monthly updates here. So let's go back over to the charts. And let's see, we've got 55 tuning in already. So 5 minutes till this monthly candle close, and I'll just let everyone tune in. We normally get 100 or so watching. And we're going to talk about why this is really important when this monthly candle is about to close. So at the moment, if we zoom out, we can see that there's these monthly candles in the past. We've got one up here at about 10,500 thereabouts, but it's this region here where we can see we had these resistances, opens and closes, all around 10,000, and then right where we are now at around 9,400, 600. And if we go to the weekly chart, we just zoom out a little bit. Once again, we can see where we had a number of weekly closes around this level. So this is probably the most important level to confirm whether or not we are back in an uptrend on some of these higher time frames, and particularly where we have these harmonics where it's a resistance level on a number of time frames, the monthly and the weekly and the daily, during these important high volume periods back here. But more so when it's, again, recently when it's had this acting as support or resistance. And at the moment on the weekly chart, there's plenty of room to run on the RSI. Momentum's only crossed positive not that long ago when everyone was scared that we were going to 5,000 and lower levels. And it's funny how quickly everyone can change their mind. But just in the immediate short term, it would be perfectly healthy to have a bit of a pullback here. Even if it's not even for a week, we can still have another green week, but maybe just for a couple of days here, because on the daily we have got into that overbought territory, and people, it's definitely not full-on euphoria, and we have lost that uptrend now on that 4-hour chart, and that's where we got the big wick down last night. And to me, that says that there's some big boys, some big traders. We know that margin trading dominates everything that's happening in this space at the moment. And if they got in and they're on large leverage, they're happy just to dump a large profit take. And that's what we kind of see when we have these big wicks. But more recently, in the short term, now we've lost that uptrend. Let's just get rid of that. We are looking at this bit of a head and shoulders pattern that is forming now. And if you have a look at where we'd love the right shoulder to form, it's the same sort of levels as where the left shoulder formed. And sure enough, we have tagged that perfectly. And if we zoom in a bit more and we have a look at our fib retracement levels, so from the top where it started down to the bottom here, where has it bounced into? Around that 50% mark. That to me would have been an even better short if we had got up into that sort of golden pocket. But a lot of traders obviously waiting to short here, and it is looking now like this is going to be an inverse head and shoulders. And for me personally, I am in a short on Litecoin. So if we head over to the Litecoin chart, we can see, just how much harder that has run than everything else. And even again last night, just these massive move higher. And if we go to the 4-hour time frame, we have got a bit of a momentum rolling over. We're outside the Bollinger Bands, well outside the Bollinger Bands on the daily, and this candle is going to form in around 2 minutes. And to me, it's this, a bit of a tweezer top. We've got these wicks, this spinning top doji. These sort of patterns are typical reversal patterns. But let's wait for that to be confirmed, because at the moment there's no, it's all bullish momentum. We don't want to counter trade the trend, but when we've had such a good run, there's going to be people that take profits when Litecoin goes, from 36 up towards 70 in a month. Zooming out, obviously a really good candle for Litecoin there, and Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter if we don't get above this level. We're being a little bit picky. That would make it, ultra bullish, full on 2017 sort of stuff. I'd be expecting if we, all this damage that we did over the past few months, and then look at that, this 3 candle pattern. Once again, I spoke about that sort of spinning top doji where we get these wicks at the bottom. That's that reversal pattern. This confirms it. It's engulfed, all that bearish selling action of the previous 2 months. So here we are about to close, and that really closes off a fantastic month for Bitcoin. So on to the new day. Again, this isn't bearish yet. So we've had a couple of signs where things could be rolling over with a little bit of divergence when we make that new high, and the RSI is cooling off. But if we get above here, I think we could still maybe get that week and start the month above here. But I still expect, I've got the cash on the sidelines for a pullback after this tremendous run. A lot of FOMO starting recently. As I mentioned before, we've just had our biggest week for a long time in terms of new people signing up to all our services, and those beginner questions. Those of you in the group probably saw 10 beginner questions yesterday, which is fine. We love beginner questions. We're all beginners, but we just haven't seen that for so long. And that to me says that when we have these enormous runs, there's a lot of buyers, beginners coming in. Certainly not like 2017, but often, that tends to be when we are due for a little bit of a pullback. Now, if the momentum continues, and that's when trading becomes less relevant. So when there's just these stampede of new buyers, which I don't think it has quite started yet, as I tweeted last night, this is pretty amazing. Someone like Alan Kohler, who used to really hate on Bitcoin, then he sort of was a bit of a convert, hasn't mentioned it for a year or two, and now all of a sudden, it's cool and fashionable to mention Bitcoin again. So this was on ABC News, pretty widely watched station in Australia. Bitcoin, digital gold, goes for a run, and I linked the actual video for you to watch it here. And in the video, he says that Bitcoin is acting as a safe haven. So, sometimes you got to step back and say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, who would have thought that, reasonably mainstream news channels are calling Bitcoin a safe haven and digital gold? And a lot of people see this. And in Australia, we've seen, the housing market, the banks, the Royal Commission, and now, the situation in Iran, and Bitcoin and gold went up. And now we've had this coronavirus, and Bitcoin's gone up. The stock market's been a little bit rocky this week, but Bitcoin's gone up. So it's just this constant evolution in that mainstream consciousness where people just think about Bitcoin, or what's Bitcoin doing when this, that, or the other happens. And if it's constantly going up, that just starts to create that narrative that that's what Bitcoin does. It's, it's uncorrelated. So really, really happy to see all that. So on the 4-hour chart, we've got a little bit of a wick now. If you are planning on shorting or whatnot, that's kind of where I'd place my stop if we get back above there, or maybe even that fib gold ratio zone that I spoke about before. That's where a lot of the traders are going to look to short, and I think we'd be perfectly healthy to unwind. A lot of bullish momentum continuing to push us higher, and we don't want that, that parabola just to continue, because we know what happens. It doesn't typically end well when we just have these enormous moves without the consolidation along the way. So this is the daily chart here, from when we got to say 8,000 back in May. We almost had a month of sort of sideways action in this accumulation zone, and that would be fantastic. A month of sideways action, possibly back. Let's get out that fib level again. So if you are waiting for a pullback, if you're trading, I think that would be a gift. I don't think it's going to necessarily get down that deep unless we have some really bad fundamental news. But I think a lot of traders would just be waiting to revisit, 7,000, 8,000s. This was this region around here, 7,800, where we had that initial head and shoulders pattern that broke out and hit our target perfectly. So yeah, that's 7,800. I think a lot of people would be looking to buy there, maybe a week down to there. But when we get in these bullish modes, sometimes Bitcoin just doesn't wait. And that's why for 90% of people, they have found that dollar cost averaging is for them. I do encourage people to learn how to read charts, even if you're not going to trade, because just being able to do what I'm doing now and getting out the RSI, the moving averages, your Bollinger Bands, whatever it is, and being able to look at a chart and say, you know what, I don't want to be the guy that buys when it's overextended. I want to be the guy that buys, when it's pulling back. And in bull markets, we don't tend to have deep pullbacks on these daily time frames. The best you tend to get is pullbacks on the 4 hour or the 1 hour. So when we do get those, a lot of people tend to be waiting to buy those dips when they come, and the more bullish we get, that'll be the only chance you get to buy. You have to go down the time frames even more. So you might only get a chance to buy. On the hourly, we might only get into these oversold conditions or to the bottom of our Bollinger Bands. But we're going to continue to build out the learning units for members in our group, and the new website's very close to being launched now. Next few weeks, we're going to have a portal we can log in with all this information and old videos in better categorized, and that's going to include my trading strategies around the RSI and around those Bollinger Bands, and they're really easy for beginners. It's a very visual thing. So I'll have a look at the questions now, guys. But in terms of the monthly close, really, really positive stuff. We just hide those drawings. You can see that we closed above this really key level. So good volume coming back in, overbought at the top of the Bollinger Bands. We kissed that midpoint. A lot of traders looked at these this is a 20 moving average. So a lot of traders use the 10 and the 20, 12 and 26. They're all looking at slightly different things, but the fact is it sort of pulls back into this region where traders are waiting, and that tells us that a lot of traders now are in a bullish mindset, as opposed to waiting to short bounces. They're now waiting to buy pullbacks. So yeah, there's some traders out there that are still saying, this is the monthly high, lower high, and we couldn't just be forming another lower high in the monthly before trending down. So yeah, we have to keep our mind open to all possibilities. But in terms of what we know at the moment and all the data that I've been through, it certainly looks really, really positive, like things are turning up. That narrative can build around the halving. I spoke about that video where the whales use Litecoin, and they certainly proved that this week. So Litecoin was only trading for, I think, $50-something when we did that video last week, expecting Litecoin to lead us again, and bang, look at that. It's been a really good week. So guys, I'll just have a quick run through the questions if you've got any. This week here on the daily and the 4 hour, I'm happy with this Litecoin short for now, maybe placing a stop above 70 if we get back above there. Okay, so questions. Washington, D.C., g'day from around the world. I do like doing these at different times every now and again. Can Bitcoin be a safe haven when it goes from 14K to 6.5? Well, you have to zoom out. How very few people. Bitcoin was only at 14K for less than a few hours. So really, how many people really bought it Bitcoin? And zooming out, I think the stat is 95% of the time Bitcoin has trended higher and acted as a safe haven. And that's like saying, is gold a safe haven if it was at 1900 and then went down to 1000? Is silver a safe haven if it went to 50 and then down to 14? You've got to zoom out and look at that time frame. Chart in night mode, annoying during the day. Sorry, I've always had my charts white. I prefer that. What's my view on ADA, Cardano? I did a deep dive a few months back if you want to watch Cardano fundamental analysis. But I think they fall into that category of protocols that have really got to prove themselves. They're kind of running out of time, or it's very competitive. You can have the best technology in the world and you can shout from the rooftops about it, but you've got to get out there and convince developers to come and build. You've got to find people, real world problems and apps that are going to have end users, and you've got to give them a reason to use ADA over these other currencies and whatnot as well. Well, guys, I am going to wrap it up there. That is a super positive finish to the week, to the month. Do we have a little breather here? Touching this 9.6 level. That's the level to mark on your charts, to keep an eye on. And I hope you have a great weekend. I've got another wedding today. It seems to be wedding season. Tasmania had its hottest ever day yesterday, 40.9, I think it was, possibly hotter in some places. 40 in Tasmania. I had the singlet out yesterday. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Members, I'll give you some more regular updates and I'll talk to you tomorrow. So guys, head over to nuggetsnews.com.au to join our members group, everything else we do. Otherwise, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Share these videos around. I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.